Hi everyone, welcome to my review of David Zucker's The Naked Gun from 1988. So yes, here we are to review this film, and actually the whole trilogy. This has been requested once again by the YouTuber Jared Griffiths, so check his channel out, of course. We'll leave a link in the description, of course, to his channel, so please, if you can, check his channel out, and great channel there, of course. And he's requested the trilogy, and of course Police Squad, which is the TV series that this was, of course, based off of. This is, the series. For those of you who don't know, the series came a few years before this, and it was only 6 episodes. Then it was cancelled, but of course, not leading to nothing like some shows do, because of course it led to this trilogy, and of course very very famous films. So no denying that. These films are ones that I wanted to check out for many many years. Of course, just getting around to Airplane over a week ago now, for the first time seeing that, and just loving that film. I thought it'd be great to see these films anyway. Quite quickly after. So of course they're on Sky, of course, and yes, I recorded them. Watched this one the other day, and yes, this has been, as I say, a film that I've been looking forward to, for a number of years, and wow, I just love this film. I must say that. Actually, just going over scenes in my head still, just hilarious moments. I think this is yet another great comedy film. In my opinion, not for everyone, of course, but for me, this is just actually very very close to Airplane. I know a lot of people wouldn't say that, but I think it's kind of on the level. I think maybe Airplane is a little bit better. Just in terms of a piece of cinema, just as an overall film, comedy, and just kind of what that was. An escalation. This thriller. Of course, set in this one location. For what it was, I think it's probably a little bit better, just in my opinion. But then again, I think in terms of just the comedy and stuff, and my actual enjoyment, I think it's very very close. And I think there is things that I prefer about this film actually. One being, of course, Leslie Nielsen is the main protagonist, and he does actually get a lot of screen time, of course. You could say at times it's the Leslie Nielsen show. There's moments in the final act where he's basically becoming different characters, in disguise. That final act is just hilarious. But of course, yes, it follows this character Frank Drebin, and of course, I can't comment on the this show. I'm going to get to that after the trilogy. Just thought I wanted to do it that way. Watch the films and then go to the trilogy, go to the series. But yes, I think this character Frank Drebin is basically this detective, and he's tasked with bringing down this plan by Vincent, this villain, to basically brainwash different people, and in order to assassinate a certain individual. And you see different methods, of course, of him brainwashing people, basically controlling them. And yes, it's basically Leslie Nielsen, as this character Frank. You also got Captain Ed, played by George Kennedy, hilarious as well in the film. And I think when he's in the film as well with Frank, it's hilarious, just so enjoyable, so charming. And of course, this character of Nordberg is the one that originally basically tries to stop this operation, and then he's put in hospital. And basically, the ongoing gag throughout the film is that he's basically in the hospital, and Leslie Nielsen's character Frank basically keeps accidentally, wounding him again, and stuff, and it's just hilarious. That goes over the course of the film, and you see, as we know, you see him at the end as well, and where that's gone. But yes, this is something that I didn't want to give a spoilers review here. It's kind of thing. So I thought I keep it quite general in how I'm describing it. But yes, you have this character of Nordberg. And then, of course, yes, Vincent is the villain, and of course you also have the character played by Priscilla Presley, who's great in this film, and of course she plays Jane, and basically that's the romance of the film, Jane, of course, and Frank, and basically, yes, they kind of get involved, of course, and it is treated, as a comedy, this romance, of course, but then again, just like Airplane, I got actually very invested in this, and rooted for these characters. But this film, is just once again directed by David Zucker, this time on his own, but also Jerry Zucker, Jim Abrahams and Pat Proft, basically co-writing the film with David Zucker, and I think once again, this team just delivering such an enjoyable comedy. These two comedies, Airplane and this, I think, just among my favourite kind of pure comedies kind of thing. I know there's comedies that are comedy dramas, like Chaplin's and stuff. Most of his work really, but I think this one, and Airplane are ones that are right up near the top of just my favourite, comedy films. Certain films that just are mainly comedies. They aren't meant to be taken seriously, really, at all, and they don't really have much, serious drama, in the films. But this one, once again, yes, just a great film. The writing here is just brilliant, and this is very, it's just so effective in its what it's trying to kind of parody, of course, this genre, and just in terms of these characters, Frank Drebin, a great character, I feel, and Leslie Nielsen, I think, just absolutely brilliant in this film, flawless performance, just in terms of how effective, how enjoyable this character is, and I think, just seeing him as a main protagonist in this film, I think that's why the main thing I prefer about Airplane, and also probably some of the more laugh out loud moments, in this film could actually rival, in my opinion, Airplane. That's a thing, especially moments, for example, the kind of montage sequence, that's one of the scenes that just keeps going over my head. This montage sequence where him and Jane are running through, and basically on the beach. That is, especially that moment. Of course, you've got the song playing, "I'm Into Something Good," and yes, basically they're running, and you see different things like them coming out of the theatre and laughing at a particular film, and moments like this is absolutely hilarious. Really, it's just laugh out loud moments like this. But it's the thing. Literally every minute has a kind of a classic, pretty much classic comedy scene. This is such a great comedy. It's very short, and I think the kind of the flow of it, you get gags here and there, left, right, and centre, kind of just thrown in there. Pretty much all of them work, and I think most of them are just absolutely hilarious. Once again, I think just the timing of the comedy, the slapstick, pretty much always lands. I think there's maybe a couple moments here and there that are maybe a bit too much, just like Airplane, just a little bit over the line there, but pretty much once again, very close to being, just a kind of flawless comedy in that sense. I think just very little in the way of flaws, if any, and none of them really bother my enjoyment at all. I think it's just a great film, and I think I loved just the kind of the way this romance formed, and the scenarios that happened at the house, for example, when they go back to and they're kind of together and stuff, and I just think the scenes as well with Leslie Nielsen going through on his own, investigating, absolutely hilarious, and I loved how you kind of get enough time with Leslie Nielsen on his own, and then of course the interactions with other characters in the film. It's just all so good, and adds up to kind of such an all-round enjoyable comedy, and as an action film as well. I loved all the action in the film, and the chases and stuff, and how that was played for comedy as well. This is the thing, it really commits to the comedy. It really just goes all in. But this is the thing, most of it, in the film is just so controlled. Once again, and I think as well, why this is so funny is because it's characters, like Frank, who don't try to be funny. This is the thing, or it doesn't appear so. It's just characters who think they're kind of doing things right, but they're not, and that's one of the things in comedy. You have to kind of get right. There's so many comedies that are desperate to get at least a few laughs, and they go all in, but they really don't have any sort of control and actually understanding. I feel mainly modern comedies of actually what makes comedies funny, and that is it's not the desperate attempts, the gross out, desperate attempts to get some laughs. It's more characters that are maybe just thinking they're normal, but they're not, and you know, us laughing at them, kind of thing. And this is one of the films that kind of shows that, and also Airplane as well. You know, and it's just visual gags as well in this film that are just so hilarious. You know, especially a couple involving, you know, kind of Frank and Jane. You'll know what I'm on about there. Just absolutely hilarious stuff. This, and I love the use of music in the film. You know, it's just great soundtrack. The kind of the score and the songs used, and just a brilliant film once again. And I think, you know, am I hyped for the other two? You know, absolutely. I don't think they'll be as good as this one. Safe to say. But you know, I really look forward to them. I look forward to seeing where the other characters, you know, go next, and how they kind of, you know, how they're involved in the story, of course. And yeah, it's just these characters of Ed, Captain Ed, and you know, Jane, of course, as well. I know that they're in the next, you know, films, so that'd be great to see. And I think just the cast here, you know, Priscilla Presley, so enjoyable in this film. She really perfects the kind of the role that they're trying to go for here. The kind of very satirical character, you know, one that, you know, is really, again, not trying to be desperately funny, but just, you know, this is a funny film, in my opinion. It doesn't try in the way that so many comedies do, and I think this romance, just like Airplane, actually, you know, with Elaine Haggerty, you know, her character there, it's very similar, you know, and it's played in a very particular way that just works for me, I think. And I just think in general, you know, the comedy and the way it's kind of playing on the crime genre, you know, just as it's kind of what it's saying and stuff, you know, throughout the film, it's just so effective. This is really for me, a great film, just a great piece of cinema, in my opinion. Again, not everyone will love this film, that's never the case, but I do, and I think, you know, would I recommend it if you've not seen the film? Absolutely. I think most people, of course, have seen Airplane and maybe this one as well, but, you know, and luckily it is actually, you know, acclaimed as one of the best, you know, at least a few lists here and there, you know, kind of big lists, of course. It's actually very high, it seems, on best comedies of all time, and I think, you know, excluding the kind of drama comedies, because there's, you know, so many of them, so many films that are mainly, you could say more drama, but you can kind of argue that they are comedies as well, or kind of maybe more comedy than drama, you know, and just ones that do mix this, you know, these two things, of course, maybe comedy and pathos, for example, you know, Chaplin films, but, you know, excluding these kinds of films, I think, you know, this and Airplane, you know, just among my favourite kind of, you know, pure comedies in that sense, and just absolutely brilliant, you know. I think, you know, the score that I give this film is an extremely high score of, yes, a 93%. You know, that's extremely close to Airplane. You know, just in terms of my score, but I think very close. You know, in enjoyment. As I say, there's a few things I did prefer in this one. You know, one being, of course, Leslie Nielsen, his involvement in the film. You know, you get to see him as the main character, the detective, of course, which is just one of the kind of, you know, for me, if you've seen Airplane, dream things to kind of occur. To have Leslie Nielsen, you know, as the main, you know, kind of protagonist in a comedy, and seeing him as, you know, a detective, of course, this is just, it really is brilliant. And of course, all the performances here, you know, George Kennedy, you know, Priscilla Presley, you know, great performances here. Really, just putting off this satire, you know, so well, and just, you know, literally constantly funny, in my opinion. You know, the final act as well is one that doesn't disappoint at all. You know, it's a baseball game, of course, and you know, it's kind of that right mix between tension and, you know, comedy here, and of course seeing Leslie Nielsen, you know, kind of disguise himself, you know, as different, you know, individuals there. It's just absolutely brilliant, and I think, you know, a lot of comedies, of course, do certainly lose their steam, and they go awry, you know, in the final act, in my opinion, just personally. But this one doesn't, and I think I was maybe thinking, you know, hopefully it doesn't. I can't say. Let's see where it goes in the final act. But luckily, it did not disappoint at all, and I think this is a great film, a comedy that is also romance, adventure, action film, crime film, of course. But yeah, just in terms of, as I say, pure comedies, really, for what this is at its heart, it's not exactly a film that mixes, balances out, kind of equally the kind of drama and the comedy in that sense. As a kind of mainly a comedy film, primarily a comedy, I think this is just one of the most effective, and I really do love this film. I think this character Frank Drebin is brilliant. The writing here, the editing here, the kind of way that the music is used in the film, absolutely brilliant. And yes, such an enjoyable film. And yes, I cannot wait to see the rest of the trilogy here, and that'll be hopefully very, very soon. I'll try to watch The Naked Gun 2 possibly next Monday. Actually, I've got a bit of time in the day on Monday, and then of course, I think the third one will be the following week maybe, and that'd be great to do. Of course, Police Squad as well. After these films, I'll get to that series very, very quickly. And of course, another recommendation by Jared was The Great Race, which, wow, I really cannot wait to see that film. Of course, a Blake Edwards film, which is an event in itself. No matter what, the reaction will be to any of his films. Just to see his films, I think it's just great. I can't wait to see what it's like. And of course, these are recommendations, requests by Jared. Of course, once again, a reminder to check out his channel. Great stuff, of course, and that'll be in the description there. Link to his channel. And yes, as always, it was great to watch this film. Great to talk about this film, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you like this film, or maybe not? What do you think of this film? What do you think of this kind of team, the Zuckers, Abrahams, etc.? What do you think of their films? And yes, just any discussions, as always, just on cinema, what we're here for, of course. And yes, as always, thanks for watching my review.